A lot of false information has been spread about ISO, private ledgers, XRP in general, and how institutions can use it. I need to make this right. Listening to this clip, I felt a little annoyed as I heard more and more of it. If this is what people are telling the public, it's not right. Citibank is also putting out a lot of new information, and we're going to talk about digital assets. We have a lot to say about the spot XRP ETFs that are on the way, but we need to start here. This is going to talk about a few things. The carry trade J is one of them. By the end of the year, Clava will likely be worth $750. Private ledgers are one of them. ISO 2022 is one of them. We need to fix a lot of things here. Jake Clava says that the reverse carry trade is the most important factor in determining how much XRP will be worth by the end of the year. I asked Grok AI to give me an idea of when the reverse carry trade would end. This is the answer I got. Based on how things are going now, I think there will be a chaotic unwind that speeds up in the first quarter of 2026, with the crash that is the rapid self-reinforcing liquidation reaching its peak around March of that year. Jake might be a little early, but the first quarter of 2026 seems like the most likely time frame. Still, I think the change in the price of XRP will be caused by something much clearer, the Clarity Act. I'm aware that many people say XRP doesn't need the Clarity Act to be adopted because it's not a bond. I believe they are missing one important point, though. Financial companies won't use XRP until it is fully regulated and understood by the law. So all the dots and crosses must be made before formal adoption can start. Get the XRP Millionaire Blueprint to learn how the top 1% place themselves during times of chaos like these, including their thoughts when they buy things and how they store their money. In the comment below, that has been saved. This is true. Before putting out a product that deals with customer money, banks, businesses, and insurance companies all want clear rules. They don't want to build something that will have to be taken apart later. They don't want their clients to be in the dark, not just for XRP, but for all digital assets that connect to global banking. They want clear rules from regulators. But the clip goes off the rails when it thinks that just one bill or date is the holy switch. The market doesn't move like that all at once. It takes a wave to adopt. Being clear is the spark. The building blocks are already there. Institutions will move faster than anyone thinks possible once the rules are clear. This is because most of the work has already been done. Then this person says they think the Clarity Act will be passed and signed by November 22nd. Then they say that will allow institutions to use XRP and that it will happen at the same time as Swift's ISO 2022 adoption date. It looks like we don't have to wait long since it's this week. That part isn't right. And this is where people get confused. Congress changes the order of things. Dates change. In the crypto world, nothing should be tied to a holiday week like a magic button. Even Senator Tim Scott recently hinted at a later date. Things change over time. The direction, not the date, is what matters. After that comes ISO 2022. In that clip, this is where things go wrong. There will be no change in the price of XRP, no limit for integrating cryptocurrencies, and no liquidity event. ISO 2022 is just a messaging standard. The company Ripple made goods that meet ISO 2022 standards. XRP doesn't follow ISO 2022 because its coins don't follow ISO 2022 rules. The systems are ISO 2022 is already used by banks. A huge number of techs pass through it every day. There would have been crypto by ISO 2022 already if it had happened by magic. November 22nd does not make a price event happen. This is another reason why the XRP community needs accurate information. A date that won't change the price of XRP is making people think that it will go up a lot. When banks add digital assets to their processes, not when message formats change, that's when real adoption happens. When the clip gets to private ledgers, things get really crazy. The idea is that institutions have been trying by buying XRP on private ledgers at very high prices. These test prices will then move to the public ledger at a certain point in time. For testing, there are private ledgers. For private, they're there. They are there so banks can show traffic flow and throughput without actually moving public money. The price written in a secret ledger is not real. On a secret test ledger, putting XRP at $200,000 doesn't mean anything. That's the same as trying a game engine while the infinite money mode is on. The game is just a test. The price on the public market is set by liquidity, demand, exchange depth, and real buyers as usage grows. Tests of private ledgers don't send value into the open market. That story has been going around for years, and it's time to put it to rest. People are interested in rumors, but Citibank is rolling out tokenized payments for a number of different currencies. On camera, the CEO is talking about why tokenization is the way of the future for payments around the world. They're talking about payment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, mass interoperability, networks with multiple banks, and instant frictionless cross-border transfers. They're bringing banks on board. They are making economies stronger. Global always-on trains is what they want to do. That's the tale. That's what counts. And when the world's biggest banks start talking about the same direction Ripple laid out years ago, that's when you know the world is really going. That leads right into the next part of this, because the wave of uptake we're seeing now from Citi, HSBC, JP Morgan, and others is linked to the same ways that XRP was made to help with liquidity. That's when we get to the part of the talk that most people don't think about enough. As soon as you start to pay attention to what the CEOs and heads of digital asset departments are saying, everything becomes clear. It's not a guess when Citibank's CEO says that tokenized payments will solve real customer problems and allow for instant money flow, settlement 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and smooth global clearing. No, that's not a theory. That shows what the world's biggest banks are using right now. They don't say anything about what they might do. They're talking about what they already do. This is on a huge scale. Take a look at this. Every day, Citibank alone moves trillions of dollars through its payment lines. They don't put out new technology just to make a few $1,000,000. They do it for business around the world. This is not a small side project when they say they will accept the dollar, the euro, the pound, the Hong Kong dollar, the Singapore dollar, and more. This is the most important part of the new banking system. As soon as a big bank adds a new currency to their tokenized system, something else starts to happen. Other banks do the same. There are mergers, the liquidity pools get deeper, the rails move faster. And once everything is turned into a token, payment is just a digital handshake. The congestion goes away. But the most important part is when they say what people really want. It's not a banknote, not an environment with separate parts. It's not a walled yard. They want an always network with many banks and assets. A network where you can't see the equipment underneath. The transfer just happens, and the settlement is complete right away. That's exactly the kind of setup that XRP was made to work with. That's why a lot of people in traditional banking are now using the same words Ripple has been using since 2013. Layers of quick neutral settlement. We can work together. Cross-border funding in real time. A bridge object that can be used to move value around. This is also the reason why the private record issue keeps coming up. A lot of people don't understand that just because companies are testing XRP or Ripple tech behind the scenes doesn't mean they are buying and selling tokens in secret. There are these private environments because no bank wants to use public liquidity to try new rails. They'd like to make flows, they want to play around with noise, they want to check the safety features, private rules, settlement paths, and liquidity algorithms. For fake, they want to make demand high. They want to know just what flow is. It's all playtime. There are real prices at this market, not a secret one. There is no magic way for any of it to join the public market. Adoption is what combines with the public market. Real life use. Open liquidity pools get real movements. That's what makes the price change. When institutions move real value through public passageways, it causes liquidity stress, which in turn causes prices to rise. The amount of real XRP in circulation goes down when ETFs buy it off of platforms. Volume goes up when banks add on demand cash or other settlement tools. That's what makes prices change. It's not private tests, not fake numbers on the ledgers for growth. There is real desire and a limited supply. When we talk about ETFs, the real story that is happening right now is much bigger than just one small provider starting out early. The real speed comes from the wave that is growing behind them. A lot of big companies like WisdomTree, Grayscale, Vanik, and others are lining up almost at the same time. We're not talking about one product testing the waters in secret. There are 7, 8, 9, or 10 ETFs that are all set up to buy XRP at the same time. Putting those things together in a planned way makes something completely different from hype. It makes daily buying pressure that is steady and organized. You don't just buy an ETF once and forget about it. They rebalance accounts, buy more shares as the assets they manage grow, and make sure that demand stays steady. This kind of action builds a base of stability while also reducing the supply that is moving around. Millions of XRP were bought up in just hours by even the early ETFs that didn't have much exposure. That was a sneak peek at what will happen when bigger companies enter the market. When bigger issuers put out their goods, accumulation grows very quickly. As supply gets tighter, funding gets tighter. Real demand meets limited supply around the world. That's where the fireworks take place. Not from stories, guesses, or hype, but from the media that won't stop. How big this is not thought of by many. They think it's not important based on how prices have been moving early on, but they forget how the ETF cycle for Bitcoin began. It went the same way. A quiet buildup, few producers, and early flows. Then the huge person stepped in. All of that changed when BlackRock, CK, and Fidelity joined forces. Now look at how XRP is set up. These companies won't wait if there is a lot of demand from customers, which there are early signs of as soon as they get the go-ahead. They will start selling their goods. Also, anyone who thinks BlackRock CK wouldn't make an XRP product if people want one should think again about how BlackRock K works. They go where the money is. Easy. Now, add the news about the Basel Committee. For every $1 of crypto liability, banks would have had to hold $1 in capital. However, banks fought back against the 1,250% risk weight rule. Banks would not have been able to touch digital assets on a large scale because of that rule. It's not what the US and UK want, though. They know something better. If banks can't work with crypto, the whole future banking system will be slowed down. Stablecoins are left alone. Walls are hit by tokenized payments. There are pieces of liquidity. There's nothing that works the way it should. Now, regulators and banks are talking about how to make a system that will work. This process is also much more important than most people think. Once it is legal for global banks to keep crypto and trade with it while still meeting reasonable capital requirements, trillions of dollars worth of institutional capital will be able to move through digital markets. That opens the door to a whole new level of acceptance, since banks no longer have to stay out of crypto because the risk weights are too low. If there are the right rules in place, they can provide full crypto services, add payment rails directly to their current business, tokenize traditional assets, and safely and effectively handle digital liquidity. This system does more than just let you try new things. It makes real, scalable market action possible. It lets institutions move billions of dollars across countries, settle right away, and work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. At that point, acceptance speeds up. That's when digital assets go from being niche experiments to being important parts of world banking, and XRP naturally becomes the most important thing in that scheme. This new settlement design is built around it because it is fast, neutral, and can be used as an asset. XRP isn't just taking part. It makes the facilities possible. Following that, we will talk about something else. Gold, the IMF, the BIS, and the new idea that digital settlement layers will be added on top of hard collateral systems in the future. This is no longer fringe. This isn't just a stupid idea on the internet. A lot of different groups have talked publicly about how gold could be used as base collateral for future digital systems. The IMF has pictures that show digital assets on top of real gold stocks. Gold has been raised to Tier 1 rank by the BIS. There has never been a time in modern history when central banks bought so much gold. They're not doing that to look nice. They're getting ready for a reset, an update of settlement that combines the speed of digital technology with the security of physical goods. It also makes sense when analysts talk about a hybrid design with gold at the base and digital settlement on top. Confidence is anchored by hard collateral. Digital tracks allow speed around the world. This structure fits right in with the idea behind neutral payment assets, like XRP. Assets that aren't tied to the creditworthiness of any one country, but can act as real-time links between tokenized money, tokenized assets, and tokenized collateral. When you put all of these things together, tokenized bank accounts, multi-bank networks, Basel reform, the ETF wave, Citibank's digital growth, and the IMF's collateral frameworks, it's hard to believe that no one has seen this pattern before. The running system for global finance is being updated. We are switching from settling in batches to settling in real time, from separate networks to networks that can talk to each other. Message-based flows gave way to value-based flows. Assets that can work in that setting and offer liquidity, closure, interoperability, and neutrality will be the most important ones over the next 10 years. This is why the present moment is so important. However, people are still interested in ideas that don't matter, dates that don't matter. There aren't any important secret ledgers. At the same time, the real change, the real shift in institutions is going outside in the open. It is clear that the biggest banks, wealth managers, advisors, and regulators are all pulling in the same direction. The tracks are being built. They are putting the building blocks down. They are working together to set world standards. Everything that assets like XRP use to get cash is getting better every month. This is not advice about money. The biggest change happening now is that almost no one is ready for the structural change in how liquidity will move around the world once XRP's rails are fully merged. This is no longer just a guess. You can see the foundations being laid in central bank digital currencies, institutional payment corridors, and trials with cross-border settlement. It's even more surprising that most small buyers still treat XRP like any other altcoin, waiting for the hype to die down. They don't know that what they're seeing is the first real change to the way foreign money moves since the start of the SWIFT network. If you look at the last 10 years as a whole, the trend is clear. The goal was for everything to work together. The goal has been efficiency, and fast settlement is now what people expect. XRP wasn't made to follow story hype cycles. It was made to get around a problem that could not be avoided in world finance. You can see something amazing if you follow the money instead of the news. Central banks don't play around with technology that won't be useful in the future. Financial institutions don't try a protocol for years if they plan to stop using it. Liquidity sources don't build their own tools around an asset they think will soon be useless. Indeed, XRP's structure is perfect for the needs of the next era of money. Speed, fairness, finality, and style that is easy to follow are all important. This is why the idea that XRP will never be used is running out of steam. The institutions that used to ignore it are now quietly adding blockchain settlement layers, researching tokenized liquidity models, and making tools for contact across networks. Even though they don't say the word XRP, the features they need are very similar to those that the XRP system already offers. Another thing that many people don't understand is that global liquidity doesn't happen all at once. There is a change. We are now moving from siloed liquidity pools, where each country, bank, and platform has its own ecosystem, to unified liquidity layers, where assets can move quickly anywhere. A big change has been made to the old model, which leaves trillions of dollars in Noro accounts waiting to be settled. When other lines start running, there is no longer a reason to keep money locked up in old systems. Because of this, the growth of stablecoins, CBDCs, and tokenized assets is happening all at the same time. They aren't competing with each other. They work together as parts of the same world redesign. And the question that's been around for 10 years is at the heart of that rethink. What kind of asset will be the neutral bridge? Liquidity doesn't care about how people feel. They can argue about it all day. It is not faithful, has no beliefs, and doesn't favor certain stories. It just moves toward the system that can move wealth quickly, cheaply, and with the least amount of trouble. Thus, it is hard to ignore the importance of XRP when you see how quickly tokenization is growing. A general settlement layer is more important as more real-world assets move onto the blockchain. This includes stocks, commodities, bonds, currencies, and even whole money market structures. A tokenized world is too big for fragmented systems to handle. You need an asset called a bridge that can connect networks that were not designed to talk to each other. Small buyers are still focused on short-term price charts, but behind the scenes, the financial world is building things that will work for the next 100 years. There is a huge difference between what people buy and what institutions build. Retailers want to make money quickly and adrenaline levels rise. Institutions want things to be reliable and work well in the long run. Retail follows the stages of craze. Institutions look for ways to get cash that won't fail when they get busy. Retail is crazy about stories. Institutions want deterministic settlement and design that is ready for compliance. This is where XRP has a very good strategic situation. Its plans were made a long time before everyone knew they needed fast cross-network financial settlement. Now that desire is going through the roof. As the use of tokens grows and more things from money to goods are put on the blockchain, we need a layer that transfers value without any problems. There is no need for institutions to look for hype or the biggest story. They want infrastructure that can handle a lot of users, settles down quickly, and works well with current banking systems. It's almost like XRP was made just for that person. It is one of the few assets that was designed from the start to work as a universal bridge, linking separate networks, allowing real-time settling, and supporting global liquidity without being tied to any one country or central authority. XRP isn't just useful in a world moving toward digital currencies that can work with each other. It's important for the structure. Slow batch settlement will give way to real-time ongoing settlement. This is one of the biggest changes that will happen. That one upgrade makes things so much more efficient that whole businesses change how they work around it. Imagine that trade finance around the world settled right away. Think about how quickly treasury flows can cross countries. Imagine that there were no middlemen in cash swaps. Imagine not having to wait days for payments to show up. That time isn't many years away. At the moment, a prototype is being made. This is why a lot of people who are keeping a close eye on the space think we're at the start of the most underrated change in modern financial history. The value of XRP today has very little to do with what it will be used for in the future. That's the part that newbies have a hard time with. When you try things out, utility value doesn't show up. It comes up when execution is going on and the process is starting to move faster. Check out how governments are dealing with digital currencies, how banks are changing the way they handle settlements, how payment providers are using blockchain, and how liquidity providers are getting ready for a future where everything is tokenized. It is being built step by step, even though the market hasn't set a price for it yet, and the early placement window will be long gone by the time people figure out what's going on. Not hype, but movement is the best way to tell where this is going next. Systems that talk to each other, settle right away, and work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week across countries are becoming the norm. That world needs models that can't be trusted. It needs digital cash flow. It needs to be able to work with other systems. It needs something that can act as a bridge and isn't tied to any one government or currency. XRP was designed to do just that, whether people like it or not. And we're getting close to the point where the world's banking system either gets better or falls apart from being so inefficient because it has to. New ideas always win. The next steps will go by faster than anyone thinks possible. As we move forward at turning points, time gets compressed, stories switch, the adoption curves get steeper, the flow of money speeds up. Also, people who have been questioning the change for years will wish they had seen what was obvious all along. That's how financial history works.